I have a question first, okay, for everyone. Who here struggles creating their own manga? If you're struggling right now, please type I'm struggling in the comments. Joe says, I'm struggling. Mallory Thompson is struggling. Green Apple Gaming, I'm 100% struggling. All right, guys, let's take a second to look at the chat and see that there are so many people just like you who are also struggling trying to make their manga. You are not alone in this journey, no matter how hard it becomes, right? There are so many aspiring mangakas just like you out in the world feeling the same thing, okay? Don't give up. Before we go any further, I want to set your expectations right. This is what we're going to be learning today. We are going to learn the 7 steps to create your first manga, right? So, first, we're going to talk about ideation and planning. Next, we're going to learn how to write our manga. Next, visual design. Fourth, storyboarding. Next, pencil sketches, inking, and then you add your finishing touches, right? So this is how you create your manga step by step. So, why should you listen to us? Actually, we have worked with pro Japanese mangaka, Naoyazawa and Renasaya, who both have a combined experience of over 50 years in the manga industry. And guys, they have both done it all. They've won contests, worked with publishers, self-published their own stuff, right? Like Yazawa Sensei actually has her own anime called Wedding Peach. They have taught beginner mangakas in manga schools in Tokyo. They know what they're doing. We are also working with the pro webtoon artist. His name is Steph Pastrano. He's the main artist for an ongoing webtoon right now. He has his own doujinshi. He's a very gifted illustrator, right? And with their help, we have worked with nearly 400 beginner anime and manga artists in the last 3 years, and we have seen them grow. Just like our student Ginny, who in 2022, when she worked with us, she didn't even know how to draw a full body character. And now she is doing kick ass, full colored illustrations. Or our students, Angeli, Sarah, Mane, who are now monetizing their art by selling their own merch. Or our student Raven, who, we have actually interviewed her on our channel multiple times. She started working with us last year in January, right? And she wasn't that confident with her art yet. But just last month, she finally finished her first one-shot manga, and she is actually considering joining manga contests next. Now, we're here to take you to the next level and tap into your hidden potential. Let's finally create your first manga. Again, guys, if you're ready, please type I'm ready in the chat. I see a couple of people join. I see Garrett. All right. Hi, Garrett. Thanks for joining. Garrett is actually our student, and we have also interviewed him on our channel. If you guys want to know Garrett's story, please check out like the replay. Okay, I see that Honey Lemon is ready. Garrett is ready. Mallory is ready. Amanda, Movo, Six Moth, Connor, Pichard, Muda, Connor's animation. Yes, guys. I am glad you guys are ready. I am also fired up. Settle in and stick around if you believe you have a unique story and message to share through your manga, but after years of working on it, you still don't have anything to show. Settle in and stick around if you feel overwhelmed because you have a long, complicated story worth tens, even hundreds of chapters, but you don't know where or how to start. Settle in and stick around if you believe it's part of your life goal and purpose to put your story out into the world and you finally want to make it happen. All right. Settle in and stick around if you finally want to publish your manga, join manga contests, and eventually work with publishers. But guys, I'm going to be honest with you. You can leave right now if you simply want to improve your art and not necessarily make a manga. Okay. We are not the right people for this. If you want to do like concept art, if you want to do simply just character design for games, this is not the right place. You can leave right now if you're only going to listen, but don't take action afterwards. Because I know what's already going to happen to you. Absolutely nothing. If you don't do anything, then you are not going to improve. Okay. And you are going to continue to stay stuck. You can leave right now if you think you can learn and do everything by yourself through YouTube videos, right? So, I mean, if you can do that by yourself, you don't need us, right? You can leave right now if you're not willing to commit and make a conscious effort to practice and make time for your manga. All right. And lastly, you can leave right now if you give up easily when things don't go your way. And again, I'm going to be honest. Even if we teach you, like the steps, the framework, it's not going to be all, rainbows and butterflies. There is still going to be moments when you feel frustrated, when you feel like you want to give up, right? Like, but we want to work with people that want to push through that, knowing that it is worth it. It is worth it to sacrifice some stuff. It is worth it to overcome that short discomfort to reach your goal of finally getting your story out into the world. That's the kind of mangaka we want to work with. So, guys, if you're still here with me right now, I just want to say congratulations. You choosing to stay with me right now means that you are ready to finally take action. So please drop the clapping emoji in the chat section. Let's all celebrate this together. Say it loud, say it proud. And I hope you feel very, very proud of yourself for choosing to finally take action today. All right. Okay, I see. Oh my gosh, I see so many clapping emojis in the chat. Telekinetic person, congratulations. Garrett, yes. Emperor Zoron, yes. Green Apple Gaming. Danny, Desi, Too Lit. Hafiz, Mallory, Ray, Katie Master, Sari Chan, X Bowman, Joe, Muda, Pablo, Jennifer, Lulu. All right, guys, you are amazing. All right, great. So now please stay until the end for our Q&A, and I'll also reveal how you guys can work with us. But before we dive into the juiciest bits, here's a little info about us and why we're doing this free training in the first place. Hi guys, I'm Trisha. I'm the owner of Learn to Draw Manga and an online art brand called Artillery Philippines. Just like you, I actually love anime and manga, and because of my passion, I came to Japan in 2013 and have been living here since. So when I came to Japan, I saw so many opportunities for aspiring manga artists here. And that included the opportunity to learn. How? There was actually manga school in Japan, right? You can go to a technical art college and you can learn manga for 2 to 4 years. And when I was younger, I loved anime, I loved manga, I loved drawing, but there was just no resources to learn how to draw manga. And during my time, there was no YouTube, right? So I could only dream about it. And I thought it was unfair. Just because I'm not from Japan, I don't have this kind of opportunity. And even though I was able to make it to Japan, I still couldn't afford it. And so I wanted to make learning manga be more accessible and affordable to aspiring manga artists around the world. That's why we're doing all of this right now. So we at Learn to Draw Manga want to empower each and every one of you. We want to help you go from stuck and struggling to confident and fulfilled by creating your first one-shot manga. We want to help you overcome your fears and perfectionism by learning the right skills and developing the right mindset so you can prove to yourself that you can do this. You can make manga, right? So, guys, if you believe that, can you please type that in the chat? I can do this. Okay. Please type, I can do this in the chat. And I want you guys to really embody that because I know for a fact, after speaking with hundreds of mangakas, I know you guys always question yourself. Am I good enough? Can I do it? Can I make it? Yes, you can, guys. And I truly believe in the power of manifestation. So you have to say it. Say it loud, say it proud, say it to yourself, say it every day. You know, when you look in the mirror, you wake up every day, you doubt yourself, you tell yourself, I can do this. I can make manga. I can make it happen. Yes. Okay, guys. I see everyone. Udo saying, I can do this. Dorje, yes, you can do this. Lexus, Honey, Mallory, Joe, Lulu, Ziel, Chanian, yes, guys, you can do this. Absolutely. All right. So, guys, now I hope you have your pen and paper ready because we are about to dive into the juiciest bits. I want you guys to take down notes, pay attention. All right. So, this is it. Are you guys ready with your pen and paper? So, first, let's talk about the number one beginner mistake that aspiring mangakas make. Okay. So I think like we need to tackle this first because if you make this mistake, then everything that I teach you today, like, like won't make any difference. Right. So the number one beginner mistake that, beginner mangakas make is making your first manga too long and too complicated, especially when you have zero experience. All right. You've been developing the story since elementary school and it's overly complex. It's been years, it's been decades you've been working on the same story. You have the beginning and an end, but you don't exactly know what happens in between, right? You've started maybe on multiple stories and you don't even have a single one out and finished. All right, so guys, who's guilty? Just in case you're guilty, let me know in the chat, okay? I'm here for a reality check. You need to focus. All right. So now let me ask you a question. What's the ideal number of chapters for a beginner? Drop your answer in the comments. All right. What do you think? What's the ideal number? Right. How do you focus? You just got to concentrate on this number of chapters first. Okay. So I see Mincy saying one, Hafiz saying one, Boulder Shurs says 16 to 20, 16 to 20 chapters. Telekinetic person says 30. MKX says 10. Chanian says 60. Majetsu says 40. Okay, guys. So I see who's viewers of our channel, right? Because quite a bit of you actually got the answer correct. One. Yes, you guys just need one chapter and you have to learn how to make a one shot. All right. So for everyone who got it right, congratulations. And again, I am assuming you guys are actually watching and learning from our channel. Yes, that is correct. So why one? Why one chapter? A lot of pro mangakas actually get a break through manga contests. And you know what these contests require? A one shot, one chapter. A lot of publishers also commission just one chapter until they get reader survey results and the popular one shots get a serialization. Okay. Compare this to a TV series. You get one pilot episode, right? And if that pilot episode is successful, then you get one season. If that season is successful, then you get more seasons, right? What happens to TV series that are not popular? They get canceled. So it's exactly the same as manga, right? Starts with one. And the most popular manga today actually had pilot chapters. Like, for example, Naruto, Dragon Ball, Attack on Titan. And if you notice, right, like some of these things never actually made it to the serialization, right? They just wanted to test the concept. And then later on, when they were serialized, the characters were further developed, the plot line was further refined, right? So again, like don't make it perfect, guys. That is the thing, right? Everyone thinks like they need to make like the perfect 100 chapter story. That's not how it works, right? Let's just get our one shot out there. Next question. What's the ideal number of pages for your one shot. Okay, so now please drop your answers in the comments, right? Let's see. Again, who is paying attention to our videos? All right. So Roof Chimney said one chapter, like 80,000 pages. Okay, Roof Chimney. Nah, that's impossible. Okay, so I see quite a few people actually pay attention to the channel, right? Yes, so you only need 16 to 20 pages. Guys, do you think that's too short? If you do, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think, okay? So I will say, because I see a couple of people saying like 60 pages. Like, yeah, nah, guys, like that's too much. That's not a one shot anymore. That's a long shot, okay? No, but that's what actual mangakas actually call it. If it's 60 pages or 100, it's a one shot. It's not a one shot. It's a long shot. Okay, so according to our pro mangaka mentor, Naoyazawa, you can forget about becoming a pro mangaka if you cannot tell a good story in 16 to 20 pages. The average number of pages for one chapter in Shonen Jump is actually about 20 pages, right? So you need to hook your readers and make them want more in that span of time, okay? So do not overwhelm yourself with an impossible task of making a 100-chapter manga on your first try. Start with a standalone one shot with 16 to 20 pages. Okay. All right. So Garrett said, I'm doing it in 24. Don't worry, Garrett. Don't worry. Okay, guys. Like, you can do 16, you can do 24, right? Like, but just don't make it crazy, right? Like, I would say, okay, like 24, 30, still doable. But again, like, do not do not aim for anything higher than that. All right. That is the challenge. Okay, so now let's learn the 7 steps to make your manga. First step, ideation. And according to our pro mangaka mentor, Renasaya, the most challenging part of being a mangaka is coming up with good ideas. So here is a formula that you can use to come up with ideas, okay? So you start with what if. What if subject and then verb, right? So for example, what if a teenage boy who's a martial arts prodigy turns into a girl when exposed to cold water and turns back into a boy when exposed to hot water? Right? So you can just like play around with this. You can change your subject. Maybe it's not a boy, right? Like maybe it's a old grandpa. Maybe it's a middle-aged man, right? Like, so, and you can also play around with your verbs, right? Like, maybe it's a teenage boy who's a martial arts prodigy who finds, like these 7 Dragon Balls. What happens next? All right. So here, this is really to just like mix and match interesting ideas, right? So write as many as you can. Do not just stick to one. Okay. Because I feel like I meet a lot of like aspiring mangakas who fall in love with like, a single story, right? No, you gotta just crunch out all the ideas first. Write 10, 20, 50, 100 of them, and then pick the ones that you think are strong premises, strong ideas. Okay. By the way, do you guys know like what manga this is? I use as an example. So just as an FYI, this is actually from Ranma One Half. Like this is an actual manga, and it's done by the same mangaka as Inuyasha, like Rumiko Takahashi. And it actually has like a remake. So if you guys are interested in that premise, you can watch Ranma. Okay, so yeah, and for the people who knew it, maybe we're about the same age because I really enjoyed Ranma when I was a kid. Okay, so now, like you have your idea. Next step, you want to identify your target audience, right? So if you want to be a pro mangaka, especially, right, you need to learn how to make a story that an audience would enjoy, right? Not just you, nor your family, nor your friends, right? Like this has to be something that kind of like appeals to a larger audience, bigger, bigger number of people, basically, right? And I know you guys probably already know the word like demographic, right? So you have shonen, shoujo, josei, seinen, right? So you got to pick at least one of those. And those are just like the most popular. There's actually even more. So, one of the most relevant reasons why you want to pick your demographic is that, like there are these different magazines, right? Like in Japan, like Shonen Jump, Bisatsu Shonen magazine, right? Like where Attack on Titan has been like published, right? So if you want to be published in those particular mangas, then you got to know, right? Like, okay, I want to do this for Shonen Jump. I want to be in Shonen Jump. So therefore, I need to create a shonen manga. You got to target young boys, right? If you want to feature more mature themes, your target might need to be like over 18. So therefore, you don't target shonen magazines, you target seinen magazines, right? I mean, imagine, like you go to the editorial department of Shonen Jump and you bring like a josei manga, right? Like that's you're definitely gonna get rejected right away. And guys, what do you call it when you want to draw for everyone? A recipe for disaster. If you try to please everyone, you're gonna please no one. Just like how you can't be, like someone that everyone loves, right? It's just impossible, right? So you gotta pick a specific audience for yourself. All right, once you have that, you also want to pick a genre and themes for your story. So again, like here's just like a good way to kind of like, brainstorm for this. So you can just like list down all like the different genres that you know, right? And there's a lot: action, adventure, romance, comedy, right? Sci-fi, sports, history, like whatever floats your boat. And then you can just kind of like combine them together. Right? Give it a unique twist and combine interesting elements, right? So like your story doesn't become another generic story out there, okay? Like, so for example, what do you get when you combine shonen, adventure, martial arts, and Chinese folklore? You actually get Dragon Ball, right? So, you could do the same thing. So next, we're done with ideation. We have our idea for our story. We move forward with writing. So when you write, you actually got to start with a one sentence pitch. Okay. Imagine you're in an elevator, right? Let's say you go to like an anime convention and like the editor of Shonen Jump was there as a guest. When you walk into the elevator, he's right there with you, right? And oh my gosh, you're freaking out. Like you want to ask him if your story is a good idea, and you only have 30 seconds to sell your story. Right. You can't ramble, you can't go on, you can't tell them like the whole synopsis. You only need one sentence. Okay. So, I have seen a lot of mangakas like make this mistake. And again, I've spoken to a lot of mangakas, like, hundreds at this point. I can only count the number of people that could summarize their story in one sentence with one hand. Not even five people could summarize it in one sentence. So, so this is actually a skill, right? So I'll give you an example. An orphaned high school girl discovers her classmates are cursed to transform into animals of the Chinese zodiac and helps them break the curse while finding her own place in the world. Right? Like, can you guess what manga is this? What anime is this? Just from one sentence, right? Let me know in the chat. And I think, someone said something really good in the chat. X Bowman said, a log line are too used in Hollywood industries. Thank you for pointing that out, X Bowman. Yes, so like in the world of movies, this is called a log line. And just as an FYI, guys, we also have another live session for training, on how to write log lines, actually like on the 28th of September. Okay, so if you guys want to learn more as to how you want to like do this, please come and join us again. September 28th, Saturday. I think that's gonna be 8 p.m. EST. Okay. All right. Veggie Tales. Someone said like Veggie Tales. Movo said that's a long sentence. Yes, actually like log lines are slightly long, right? Because you gotta like get like some of the important details out. But you guys, a lot of you guys were actually able to guess it right. Yes, it's Fruits Basket. Okay. All right, guys. So, you got to practice, right? Like how to write your one sentence pitches. And again, like you want to crunch out as many as you can, right? Don't just settle for one version of this, create multiple versions and pick, okay, which one embodies my story the best? Which one is the punchiest version of this? So when you sell your story to someone, you catch their attention right away. Okay, you have your one sentence pitch. Now you got to answer your five W's and one H. And guys, by the way, just in case like you have a hard time creating your one sentence pitch, you can also kind of like base it off of your answers from your five W's and one H. So, what are these questions? Who, what, when, where, why, and how? Who is your main character? What is their goal? When does this happen? The 21st century, year 3000, the 1500s, right? Where does this happen? Japan, the US, a totally fictional world? Why does your MC need to hit their goal? And how does your MC hit their goal? All right. So, once you get this answered, you kind of have a general idea already, then you create a plot, right? So a plot is a written summary of your story to help you visualize the scenes, okay? So here's a guide. If you have 16 pages, right, you only need a one-page plot summary. If you add dialogues, maybe you're going to end up with 2 pages, right? So just 1 to 2 pages for like a 16 to 20 page one shot. Like one of the things I always hear when I speak with aspiring mangakas is that, oh yeah, I finished my script. It's like 30, 40 pages long. And part of me is like, oh boy, man, that's gonna be a lot of work. So guys, like don't overthink it. Don't overthink your script too much, right? Like we're here to make a manga. We're not here to make a play. Um, so, just a page is enough, okay? So to create a compelling plot, you need these four elements. Ki, sho, ten, ketsu, right? Which stands for introduction, development, climax, and resolution. Okay, so you want to make sure you divide your plot into these four parts. And if, for example, you have like 16 pages, you can split those pages, like for these four different parts. Your first 4 pages could be for the introduction, 4 pages could be for the development, four could be for the climax, four could be for the resolution. It depends on you, right? Like how you kind of like, how many pages you want to allot for like each part of this, right? But I suggest to plan ahead, right? Like how many pages you dedicate to like each part of this. Okay. So now, we have like the writing fixed. Um, Next, you got to move forward with your visual design, right? So for visual design, you can have character design, you can have setting design in case there are unique objects in, like your manga, let's say it's a fictional world, you have like special orbs, jewels, right? Special weapons that's relevant to your story, then you can also create like designs for that as well. So for character design, like a lot of people actually make a mistake in doing character design. And I think like a lot of people don't even understand what character design actually entails. So, if you actually want to make a very strong story, you got to have a strong character. And I know, like for a fact that like manga, like editors, right, like are gonna judge your character. Because like, can this character really carry your whole story, right? Like that's going to be one of the questions. When we asked, like actually our students to design their own original characters, they were all about the visuals, right? Like they wanted to create a character that looked cool with like amazing, like, amazing clothes, amazing costume designs. And when Yazawa Sensei asked them, okay, like why did you draw your character like this? People would be just like, oh, I just want them to look cool. I just want them to look good. That's it. There was no deep intention behind it, right? And I think, like Garrett actually mentioned this in his interview where, like you got to draw with intention. There has to be meaning in everything that you do. So in character design, like we realize there are like three main levels to this. the tip of the iceberg is visual design, right? And this is what everyone, even beginners, right, like are able to do, right? They can draw their characters. Number two is kind of like fleshing out their features. And this is basically just kind of like, their character profile, right? Like when you have like those pages in the manga, like, okay, who's this character? And you have like their height, their weight, like their birthday, zodiac sign, right? Like this is kind of like their features, quote unquote. Um, but number three is really the essence of the character, right? And this is something that very few mangakas can do, right? And there is actually like an interview with the editor of Attack on Titan, and he actually said that, like this is something that a sign is a sign of a good mangaka if you can actually flesh out the essence of your character. And we'll get to that in a little bit, okay? So, and I talked about the features, like this is usually the features, right? Like, usually a lot of people can do this. And again, this is just like surface level information, the name of your character, their age, their height, their weight, their blood type, birthday, zodiac sign, like character traits, like powers, right? And like I know a lot of people love to like create, power systems. Oh yeah, their character has this kind of power, right? So again, guys, that is still very, very surface level character design skills, right? As a beginner, it's fine, right? Like, but we want to get to the next level, the deeper level that not everyone can actually hit. So, essence, you know, here's a very easy way to kind of like think about this. Who is your character as a person, right? And here's, okay, let's do an activity. I want you to think about your original character right now. Okay? Do you have your original character, right? Just so I know, you have your original character in mind. Type down your original character's name in the comments. Okay? Type them down just so I know, you're thinking about your original character. If you guys have a lot, just pick one. Just pick your favorite one, okay? The one that you've developed as much as possible, the one that you love, the one that you feel like is your baby, okay? I see Hafiz has Serena. Telekinetic has Ikari Teru. Okay. All right, guys. Seri-chan has Saika. Monet has Kai. Okay. All right, guys. I see you guys have your original characters. Good, good, good. All right. Think about them. And I want you to answer the next question. Okay. Okay. Everyone's ready? If your OC saw an old lady trying to cross a busy street, what would they do? Right? Let me know in the comments. What would your OC do? What would Linz do? What would Yanju do? What would Jason do? What would Obake? What would Watermelon do? What would Alistair do? Right? What would Zoe do? Okay. Okay. All right. People said, okay, Garrett said she'd help, of course. She would help. All right. Okay. Mukshi said they'd watch. Power said walk past. Hafiz said fly with her, right? Walk around with her. Okay. Walk around her. Okay, guys, this is very interesting, right? Because you guys have some different answers. I know a lot of you guys said they'd help, but here's like a question. How would they help her? Right? So, for example, this is just me kind of like imagining, okay, if this were the characters from Naruto, like how would they help? Like, for example, I think like Naruto's the kind of character that would be open to actually like carrying her on his back. Right? Like, he'd feel bad. He's like, oh, Batman just like ride my back. And then he'd like cross the street while she's like riding. Especially if it's like an old lady with a cane, could barely walk, right? If it were Sakura, she would hold the old lady's hand and guide her, right, to cross the street. Someone like Sasuke would literally just like maybe walk past her. No one would even care, right? So, like even if everyone said, okay, like they'd help, but how? How would they help? Right? So this depends, right, on who your character is as a person, right? Their personality, what kind of skills, what kind of world that they live in, right? So, and I highly suggest you guys do this kind of activity to really flesh out your characters. Just think about it. You go to McDonald's. If Zoe went to McDonald's, what would she order? I mean, would she even be in McDonald's in the first place? No, because she's like she's she's healthy. She doesn't like junk food. She wouldn't be here. Like she'd be cooking her own food, you know? Just like ask yourself questions and put your characters in those different daily situations. Like what would they actually do? And so according to Yazawa Sensei, designing characters is literally imagining and creating a person and with a history, with relationships, with goals and motivations, fears and struggles, you know, they have their own traumas. And this all shape their entire personality, right? So, just think about your favorite anime and manga characters. They mean so much to you, not just because they look cool, but because you love their story. You love what they do, right? You love their actions in the manga, in the anime that you watch. So it's the same with your characters. If you want your readers to fall in love with your main character, right, then it must be through what they do in your story, right? Because now, like, people can relate to your character, and your original character deserves that kind of same love and attention that you give to your favorite anime and manga characters. Right now, this is your baby, right? So if you want to learn more, by the way, on how to do like character design on a deeper level, we actually do have like a lot of, tutorials on our YouTube channel. We literally have a playlist for this. So please do check that out, right? And take note. Okay. So now, I mentioned like setting design. So again, if for example, you guys have like a fictional world, I think like it's kind of like a requirement that you kind of have to draw out, like some of the main areas of that world. So especially if like you want to work with an editor in the future, because like they have to be able to like imagine what that world looks like, or even just like your character's room. What's the layout of their room? Right. So, when you create your scenes, you know exactly where things are supposed to be. And like, the bed doesn't change positions every time you draw that scene, right? You gotta just like draw it out. Okay, so now, after you have like those visual designs, your character design, let's move forward with storyboarding. So in Japanese, it's called name, right? There's an art to visual storytelling. Your name will provide you with an overview of the whole flow of your story. And, imagine watching a movie, right? You just sit there, you watch, everything flows naturally, right? Like you don't even have to think about it. It's the same with manga. Your reader's eyes have to glide through your panels without even thinking about it, right? So it just has to be really smooth. So take this spread, for example. Like everything is just connected so well. The speech bubbles, right? Like you read the speech bubble, you go down, you see like Deko's face, you go to the next speech bubble, you go up, right? Like you see this whole spread. So you don't even have to think about it, right? It just comes naturally. And I've noticed actually that a lot of beginners, like unfortunately, like have to put in a little bit of extra effort to actually like lay out their speech bubbles, their elements like on the spread. So again, guys, you probably want to look at some of your favorite manga and kind of just like see the flow, right? Like if you never like even noticed this before, just go back and just look at the flow, right? So guys, I'm going to ask you this though. Are you guilty of skipping storyboarding and drawing pages as you go? If you're guilty, please type I'm guilty in the comments. Okay. Like I will say I am guilty of this myself, especially when I was younger and didn't really understand like how to make manga. I just did everything, not just even the storyboard, even the story. I just made up everything like as I went, as I drew the pages. Okay, so I see a couple of people are guilty, right? Monet is guilty, Illusion Eye Studio is guilty, the Ninja Nexus sometimes. Cameron, I'm guilty for sure. Okay. I see a couple of people that are not guilty as well, right? So, for the people that are not guilty, guys, good. Congratulations, right? Because it seems like you guys are already on top of like most of the people here. Okay, you guys are already doing more than, about 80% of the people here. All right. So, guys, if you can actually start storyboarding, think about that. You're already 20% ahead of all the other aspiring mangakas out there that skip this. So, again, guys, don't skip because you are more likely to end up with a poorly planned manga. Okay. And like, what happens when you don't plan? You might end up with something like this. So this is actually like something from one of our followers. We have asked them permission to use this like on our on our training. So again, this is actually like very common mistakes for beginners, and especially if you do not plan. You're gonna end up with lots of headshots, lots of bust shots, right? So you notice it here as well. Lots of headshots, lots of bust shots, similar angles and perspective, right? It barely changes. Redundant paneling, right? And there's also a heavy reliance on dialogue to drive the story. And as we say, like in our videos, you gotta show, don't tell. Um, so guys, like again, this is beginner level, right? So what does pro level look like? So let me bring back the spread from earlier. So can you notice that, you know, there are different angles, different shots. There's a close-up shot of Deku, right? Like close-up shot of his face. There's this long shot where you can see the whole scenery, the whole background, like what is actually happening. You can tell, like how far the characters are from each other, right? So again, like one of the things I notice from, like beginner mangakas is that like one, again, repetitive angles, repetitive shots. They also don't draw the backgrounds, like barely any backgrounds. And you can't tell, like they draw like one character and another character in like two different panels. It's like, okay, where are these characters? Or like, where are they? I don't know. Are they floating? Are they facing each other? Are they, facing against each other? Like, are they talking right in front? Is one person like across the room? I don't know, right? There is no spatial awareness. So even just that, right? Like just even just drawing two characters in one panel, right? Like you guys like might want to try challenging yourself to do that. Okay. All right, guys. So, when you watch a movie, aren't there a lot of different scenes, right? Long shots, mid shots, close-up shots, fight scenes, emotional scenes. It's the same with manga. You got to think of yourself as a director, right? You're not just an artist, you're not just a writer, you are also a director, okay? And here's an example of how just like changing scenes can change the whole mood, right, of your story. So these two examples right here, this is actually the same two characters with the same dialogue, right? The guy here is asking, "Want to go home together today?" And the girl's like, "Sure," right? But here, this is like a page from a shoujo manga. It's so dramatic, right? And even the way that the dialogue is broken up, like, unfortunately, like this is Japanese and maybe not everyone can understand, but like it's broken up in a very dramatic way, right? Like, hey, do you want to go home together today? Like it's literally way more dramatic, right? And there's like a close-up shot of like, the girl blushing, and then, you can see the scenery, and there's like, wind like blowing. So much more dramatic, right? So again, you can deliver the same scene, the same lines in a different way. Right? Like, so maybe you want to sketch this out first in your thumbnail so you can kind of also imagine what kind of mood you want to communicate. So, when you're making your one shot, you can draw out thumbnails for all of your 16 pages to evaluate, right? So, again, this is like an actual example, right? And these are all just like literally rough sketches. You don't even see the face, you just see like a cross on the face, right? Nothing looks like that great, but you can see like how does it look as a spread? Are there any redundant scenes or weird flows, right? So, like, um, it's it's just a way for you to see the overview and judge. And Be ruthless. Be ruthless. Don't be scared to be your own critic and edit, edit, edit. According to Yazawa sensei, your first draft will always need edits. Better now than later because it'll be even harder to edit beyond the storyboarding phase. Right. So, and again, another pro tip is that do not overly put in the details when you're drawing your storyboard, because like it'll be harder for you to edit that later on. Okay. So now that we have our storyboard, let's move forward with our pencil sketches. So when you sketch, this is just kind of like as an FYI, by the way, because like sometimes we see a lot of people ask this in the comments, like, what size paper do I use? So for manga, right, the actual size is B4. So this will be printed on B5. It will become like slightly smaller. And there are actually manga paper out there that you can buy if you're using something like Clip Studio Paint, right? There's actually like presets for this already, so you don't have to like draw them yourselves. So here, you do not want to draw beyond this line because this is where it's going to be cut from. All right, like nothing is going to make it on the final print. If you notice the larger margins here, this is the spine of the book, right? So it's going to be harder to see this. So you kind of like want to avoid, like this part. So if it's a page on the right, like this larger margin is going to be on the left. If it's a page on the left, this larger margin is going to be on the right. Okay. So again, you can buy manga manuscripts, manuscript paper with these guidelines, or you can just set the paper size, like on your digital program. So, after you've sketched out your manga, you can start inking. Okay. So for the inking phase, there are actually like different elements that you want to ink, right? So again, like the line art, the panel lines, the speech bubbles, the speed lines, right? You got to ink those, and the beta. Beta is the pure black area. So for example, like this guy's hair, the beanie, right? And so how do you ink these? And you know, so first, you can do it digitally, right? And for our mentors, their go-to manga drawing program is Clip Studio Paint. I know there are also like other mangakas that use Procreate as well, right? So it doesn't matter as long as you can ink, like it's fine, whatever program you want to use. There are still a lot of old school mangakas that actually ink traditionally. So for them, they use dip pens, right? Looks like this. They do not use your regular fine liners because this takes too long, right? And for dip pens, you actually use like different kinds of nibs. There's the G pen nib, Saji nib, the round nib as well that actually creates like different kinds of lines. And for the beta, you could use Fude brush pens. And also, pro tip, guys, they also use a lot of white ink. And I just wanted to mention this because a lot of pro Japanese mangakas actually make mistakes more than you think. You just don't know because they use white ink to just kind of like, cover it up and then they just draw over it. In the final print, you don't see it anymore. All right. So don't feel bad if you make mistakes. Again, pro mangakas make mistakes all the time. Like, white ink is their savior. And again, if you guys want to learn more about this, we go more in depth in some of our videos on the channel. So please check that out afterwards if you want to learn more. Okay. So the last part is the finishing touches. And here, you are basically going to add your screen tones, right? So you've kind of like seen the process from pencil sketches to the line art to your screen tones, finishing touches. Screen tones are basically made of tiny dots, right, that create gray shading. They come in different patterns and designs, and you can apply them digitally or traditionally. Um, Honestly speaking, we've also spoken with our pro mangakas, like even Rena Sensei and Yazawa Sensei use a lot of like digital screen tones at this point because it's just a little bit easier because there are like thousands of screen tones out there. And I know that we don't live in Japan, so it's a little bit more difficult to get access to this. So I think honestly speaking, like digital is probably like the easiest way to go. And, like using screen tones like adds more depth and helps create the mood for your scenes. This is especially, heavily used in shoujo manga. Less so in shonen, I would say. So if you guys like want to create like a shonen manga, I'd actually recommend to check out some of your favorite ones and see how they use it. Because I know for a fact, for example, like Naruto barely uses any screen tones. It's just a lot of like beta and a lot of like traditional like inking techniques like like hatching, cross hatching, right? So you want to study, depending on the genre that or like the demographic that you're targeting. All right. So now, guys, again, if you want to learn more about like screen tones and how to shade, we also have a couple of videos in our channel. Okay. All right. So, guys, these are the 7 main steps you need to just as a reminder, you are not a pro mangaka yet, so do not expect or pressure yourself to go through this whole process in just 1 week or even 1 month. Right? Like that is crazy, okay? A lot of beginner mangakas think that, okay, I want to be in Shonen Jump and they release chapters every week. I got to learn how to do this, like in 1 week. No, guys, that's literally just not how it works, and those pro mangakas actually have a lot of a lot of like people helping them. They actually have assistants, right? Like, so don't think that you can do it by yourself. So this is what our pro mangaka mentor Naoyazawa actually says. Creating a proper one shot is 10 times more stressful than just drawing characters, especially when you start working with an editor, right? And editors can actually be ruthless, right? And that adds to extra stress. And, like creating your own manga, it takes time, takes effort, it takes commitment, right? And it also comes with a lot of mental anguish. And along the way, as you try to do this, you keep questioning yourself. Am I good enough? Am I doing it right? Is this all even worth it? Right. So I have a question for you. You're here because you want to learn how to create your own manga, correct? You want to finally put your story out in the world, feel more confident, feel more fulfilled. You want to prove to yourself that you can do this, correct? So would you rather do it yourself or would you rather have a proven path to success, right? Proven path to success, just like our student Amsar, who when he joined wasn't even happy with how his art style looked, right? He knew he needed to improve his art skills to be able to even think about like working on his one shot. And now he's improved by leaps and bounds, and he's now finally preparing to create his first one shot manga, or our student Garrett, who is actually in the chat, right? And he joined us back in October, and he is now currently working on his one-shot manga. And like he's gone, he has improved so much, and he has actually gone on to create like so many pages for his board already. Or our student Courtney, right? Like who actually started with us like back in December. She already knew how to draw, but then, she went on to improving her storyboarding, her visual storytelling, her paneling skills, and she is basically on track to finally finish her one shot in the next month or so. So guys, if you want the same kind of progress as our students, then we invite you to apply to our online one-shot manga drawing program. You will have amazing mentors to guide you, right? Pro webtoon artist Steph Pastrano, right? And he is an amazing illustrator. Pro Japanese mangaka Nao Yazawa, who has been in the industry for over 30 years. And just like what I said earlier, she's done it all, winning contests, working with publishers, self-publishing her own stuff, and even having her own anime. You'll be working with pro Japanese mangaka Rena Saya, who's also been in the pro manga industry for about 20 years already. And just like Yazawa sensei, she's won contests, worked with publishers, self-published her own stuff. She's about to start a new manga serialization next year, actually. She's also taught in manga schools in Tokyo, right? So, guys, are you excited to work with these amazing artists? If you're excited, please type "I'm excited" in the comments, okay? right? So, guys, the thing is, we're not just taking in anyone. We believe the better the fit, the better the results. So we want to work with aspiring manga artists who are ready to commit and actually want to be empowered. Okay? All right, so want in? Here's how the process works. This is for you if you are at least 18 years old and can comfortably write and speak in English. All right, this is for you if you're a beginner manga artist who feels lost and stuck and finally wants to feel confident putting your manga on paper and sharing your stories with the world. This is for you if you want to be good enough to join manga contests, self publish, or even pitch to publishers. This is for you if you are open to working with our team and taking advice from pro Japanese mangakas. This is for you if you want to join a community of fellow mangakas who are in this journey with you together, right? So, guys, if this sounds like you, again, I invite you to send in your application and book a free consultation call with us. We will only take in serious applicants, and we only have 14 out of the 20 slots left for our October term. All right. So, guys, this is it, the moment of truth, right? Like we are doing all of this because we want to empower you. But will you empower yourself? You're still here with me, in this live because earlier you made a decision for yourself, right? You said that you would take action, right? You don't, like you probably don't want to stay stuck in the exact same situation you came into this live with, and you mentioned earlier you're ready to make this commitment to your art. You're ready to get the same results as our students, right? So now the ball is in your court. Will you take action today? Or will you allow yourself to stay stuck in the same situation for the next year, the next decade, right? So, guys, all you need to do to transform your manga journey is to actually click the link there. I have sent it in the chat. Let me just pin this as well. Okay. So Garrett said, what if I click it, Trisha? Okay. Garrett, all right, great question. What happens when you click? So actually, when you click this, you will be redirected to an application form, right? So you just gotta fill this out. And you gotta take it seriously, guys, because we read and review actually like all of your answers. So if we think that you're not taking it seriously, we are going to cancel your appointment with us. Okay. So please make sure to answer until the very end. All right. So, all right, guys, who's applying? Who's I'm kind of curious, like who is ready to take action? Who is applying right now? Because I personally want to congratulate you. All right. I think this is something to feel proud of. This is something to acknowledge. So, guys, who is going to take action today? Right. So Garrett said, "Do I get to chat if I click it?" Um, I mean, Garrett, unfortunately, like, you can't chat with anyone directly if you click this. But if you want to chat with us, you want to chat with the team, since you're already our student, feel free to send us a chat. Okay. Let me see. Do you have to be 18 plus to publish a manga? All right, anime, star star emoji. You don't have to be 18 to create your manga, right? If you publish it online, you don't have to. But like I would say you have, like if you want to join contests, right? Like you don't have to be at least 18 to join the contest. But if you want to be like a pro mangaka, I have yet to like hear a pro mangaka who's underaged. So I feel like a lot of like younger mangakas actually are trained first, trained a little bit more before they like really go pro. Um, so yes. A little scared. Mincy said, a little scared. Okay, very interesting. Mincy, why are you scared? May I just ask? You know, Vivian said, I wish to say yes, but I'm not ready for that journey yet. Okay, like, why not? Guys, you know, by the way, yeah, since like Mincy mentioned like she feels scared, I just want to say this. If you feel nervous, if you feel scared, you know what? That is actually a good sign. For me personally, I take that as a good sign because that means you are going out of your comfort zone. That means you are doing something new. Because if you keep doing the same thing again and again, of course you're not going to feel scared. Of course you're going to feel confident because you've been doing it for so long, right? But the thing is, that's how you grow. When you've never done something before, you're unsure. You don't know what's going to happen. No guarantee, absolutely, right? But you just got to do it. If you want to improve, if you actually want to become a mangaka, if you want to actually create your own manga, right? But again, you do it knowing that it's worth it to overcome the short-term discomfort to achieve your long-term dream of making your manga. That's how it is. You just got to overcome that feeling. And again, you got to understand yourself, right? That this is what you want. This is your dream, and it's worth fighting for. All right, guys. So Incredulous said, better the f- better to fight than live in fear. Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. That's how it is, right? Okay. And guys, I mean, think about it this way as well. If you're serious about like making it as a mangaka in the future, this is a small part of that. There's gonna be even scarier stuff that's gonna happen in the future if you are serious about making this happen. So just think of it as practice. This is literally just practice, you know? I mean, imagine if you were to actually like submit your manga to an editor. Imagine how nerve-wracking that would be, right? And maybe, like they're gonna reject you, they're gonna say stuff like, man, there's even scarier stuff like out, like to in this journey down the line. So you gotta like overcome this first step. All right. So now, yeah, I want to leave you with this. Where will you be tomorrow if you start today? Take the leap. There is nothing to lose and everything to gain simply just by applying, simply just by hopping on a call, right? And imagine, if you take this leap and then like a year later, you'll be like Garrett. Not even a year, right? Garrett hasn't even been like with working with us for a year, and like he's gone so far with his story, his storyboard. He's learned so much. Like, or our students, like Courtney, was about to finish her one shot, right? Like crazy, guys. A lot can happen in that amount of time. Han said, now or never. Exactly. Zeal said, I don't know how to draw anatomy. Zeal, do not worry because we have helped people that do not know how to draw. Literally, I showed you guys like the transformation of our student Jeannie earlier. She could even draw a full body character when she joined us. So now she's doing like full bodied, like colored illustrations. Like, now she's such an amazing artist. Do not worry. Guys, if you do not know how to draw, you don't know how to write, that is something that we're going to teach you how to do in the program. Like, there's nothing to be scared about. And I have a good feeling about this, like in terms of hopefully like the people that said that they are ready to take action. I really do hope that I see you guys apply to the program. And I personally cannot wait to work with you and just see how you grow. Again, maybe you guys would be the ones interviewed on this channel like a year later. Oh my gosh, like so exciting, right? So thank you so, so much. And again, guys, we are going to have another live next week on Saturday, the 21st. That's going to be 8 p. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 8 p.m. EST. We're going to be interviewing a pro mangaka from Viz Media. His name is Art Crumbs, right? He is based in the US. He is super awesome. And then on the 28th, we are going to do a hands-on live workshop on how you can create your one sentence pitch, right? So please don't miss that. Again, thank you so much, guys. And I will see you guys again on the channel. All right. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.